Hey everyone, welcome back to TheTopher Drives, where this week I have been living with Mercedes-AMG's newest GT car. So much of a GT car, in fact, that is literally what it is called, the 2024 Mercedes-AMG GT63. This is an entirely new generation of AMG GT for the 2024 model year, and when I first saw the press release of this car, I thought, oh, well, that just looks like a hard-top version of the new SL. And on the surface, yes, you'd be correct. If you were to glance quickly at this car, it does look remarkably similar to the newest generation Mercedes SL. Until you start to look closely, you'll see that just about every panel is a little bit different, including this gaping front grille. I mean, this is still unapologetically AMG GT, because I thought that the new SL kind of looked like the old AMG GT. Good evening, Haas. Yes, sir. Where was I going with this? So it was almost kind of like AMG GT design language that went to the SL and now it's staying with the AMG GT, if that makes sense. But anyways, this has been an absolutely epic experience this week, daily driving this car. And I'm excited to take you all out on the road and show you what it is like to drive. Around back is where things are the most different from the SL, because of course every AMG GT is a hardtop with the lift back body style like this. But even when you start looking closer to the quarter panels, the taillights, the rear bumper, it's all a bit different. So this isn't just simply an SL with a roof on it. Even though a lot of the underpinnings are quite SL, it is still very bespoke as far as the body goes. So let's go ahead and pop our lift back here. This is a power operated lift back, of course, where you find an immense amount of room. When I opened this thing for the first time, I was shocked. When they say GT car, they really mean it. And not only do you have quite a bit of space back here, you have some storage solutions. We have these little tension bands, I guess you could call them, rubber bands, to hold in gallons of milk or things of that nature. You've also got two nets on either side to do the same thing. So if you have a bunch of small items that you don't want to roll around in the back of your AMG GT, they have thought of that and they've given you some solutions. You also have a bit more storage under the floor here. No spare tire, of course. I wouldn't expect one in a car like this, but you do get a fix-a-flat goop kit as well as a tow hook to help load you onto a flatbed if necessary, I suppose. So we have some departures from the previous gen AMG GT. For starters, the biggest difference is every one of these is now 4MATIC Plus all-wheel drive. And prior to this, the first gen AMG GT, they were all rear-wheel drive. So this is a little bit different. And obviously that translates into more weight. This is about 1/4 of a ton heavier than the outgoing car, which means this has surpassed the 4,000 pound mark. It comes in right around 4,200 pounds. They also all come standard with rear axle steering, which we saw in the SL. It is an excellent option, great for performance and for maneuverability. Under the hood of this AMG GT63 is the same 4-liter twin-turbo V8 that's in just about every 63 badged AMG these days. It makes 577 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. And of course, like I said, power sent to all 4 wheels via a 9-speed automatic transmission. While the numbers are the same as the SL, this feels significantly faster, and well, a lot of outlets have tested it to be about 1/2 second quicker to 60, and it feels it. Car and Driver tested this thing at 2.7 seconds. It is nauseating when you do a race start, and of course, we'll show you one of those on our drive today. But it is so wicked fast. I think it's one of the fastest cars I've ever driven. Before we show you the inside, let's pop the hood and we'll show you what I believe is called the M177. And if it's not, I'll just edit this part out. Pretty nice spec on today's car. About 199 grand. MANUFAKTUR matte Moonlight white. Exterior paint's about a $3,200 option. Inside we have Sienna brown. Very nice combo. You can see there are turbos in a hot V format there on the top of the engine. I love this motor. It's just an absolute torque beast. It sounds awesome. The turbo noises you get, the burbles, everything just works together for that proper AMG experience. Handcrafted by René Roth. Thank you so much, René. You've done a great job with this engine. AMG GT 63 starts around 175,000. Like I said, this one's got just over 20 grand in options. You can get into the GT 55, which has also a 4-liter V8, but it's down on power. I want to say it's like 400 and something horsepower. So you are over 100 horsepower more with the GT 63, as well as a number of other standard options. I'll put the full spec to this car in the description. You guys can see all of the options that it has, including a glass roof, panoramic roof, whatever Mercedes calls it. Very cool to see. One thing I don't like about this car, and you all know where this is going already, I hate these door handles. I think they are the worst addition to the Mercedes lineup of anything. I mean, what was wrong with regular door handles? Of course, these are aerodynamic, but they just, I've never understood them. I've never thought that they feel nice. So that's that. Realizing we didn't talk about wheels and tires, so let's do that before we jump in. This car just had its tires replaced, as you can see by the massive amount of sealant that has leaked out from between the wheel and tire. This is running on a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, but I believe it should have a set of 5Ss. I'm sure these were just what was available for replacement. So factory would have a slightly different tire. 305/30 R21 on the back, and on the front, slightly skinnier. We do have a staggered setup with this car. This is a 295/30 R21. So not super staggered, but it is a little bit skinnier on the front. These wheels are optional. I think they look excellent. I don't know that I love white on sports cars, but man, this Moonlight white matte is excellent looking. It does show dirt quite a bit. I've literally washed this car twice this week, and every time I drive it, it gets dirt right here. But you can see that Mercedes has thought of that, and they've put some PPF here on the haunches, because that's a very popular spot, clearly, for rocks to hit. It is a thing of beauty. I said the SL was pretty, but I think this is even prettier. It is drop dead gorgeous. Inside, typical Mercedes stuff, a lot of the same interior bits as the SL, and a pretty big upgrade over the outgoing AMG GT. This car is longer, it's wider, and it's taller, which means we have more interior space, and you can even option in a rear seat. This one doesn't have the option, but it's a no-cost option. You can put in a fold-down rear seat, kind of like, I don't know what sports cars have rear seats. Lexus LC500, Porsche 911, kind of like unusable rear seat, but if you want to have it, you can have it. So little storage nets behind the seats as well. That will go back into my driving position now. Sienna brown looks excellent. We have the optional suede microfiber steering wheel on this car, carbon fiber trim. All of the GT63s come with the Burmester sound system that you are able to spend an extra $4,500 and get the Burmester high-end sound system, which is an option that this car does not have. Well, we are running out of daylight here, so let's go ahead and fire this thing up and get it out on the road. You can hear that V8 come to life. We'll give you a couple revs here. Soft limiter just under 4,000 RPM when you were parked, but you get the idea. It's a very raspy and grunty V8 sound. I've got my individual drive mode set up for everything in comfort, but drivetrain in race and gearbox in manual. So we'll play with that once we're out on the road, but we'll start in comfort today. You got to give these doors a little bit of a shove for them to shut. I do wish this had soft close doors, because I have had to kind of reopen and shut these doors a handful of times this week, as has Emily. I don't know that she can like physically pull the door shut without really thinking about putting her entire body weight into it. So quite heavy doors. Okay, we're running on even less daylight now because I just got a phone call, but we are good to go. I'm going to plug my phone in. We do, of course, have wireless CarPlay in this AMG GT, but I have mine set for wired, as I usually do in these press cars. So we'll kind of let that exist in the background, and we will, of course, give you a demo of this Burmester sound system once we are a bit further into the drive. But, I mean, I don't really feel like I need to give you guys a huge tour of this interior, because it is quite familiar. I'm going to move this steering wheel up just a bit so you guys can get a better idea of what is going on. Dashboard, door panels, seats, everything else in here pretty similar to the SL, if not exact. You are able to opt for the AMG Performance seats. I'm kind of glad this doesn't have it, because in my mind, the whole purpose of a GT car is to be kind of have that split Jekyll and Hyde personality, being able to be cozy daily driver, but then at the flip of this switch here on the steering wheel, turn into an absolute monster, which I will go ahead and show you here. Now, let's go ahead and get on the road. I suppose with this being in a lower light situation, right, we can play with some of the ambient lighting as the sun continues to go down, but let's go ahead and get on the road. Column shifter in this car, as you know, Mercedes does it the best with their interior packaging and placing things. Shifter, all of it works together quite nicely. 360 camera, very clear reverse camera, and with this having the rear axle steering, very quick and precise steering rack. I mean, what is it? It's like not even a full turn lock to lock, or 1.5 turns or something. Very, very quick. We'll put this into drive. You can see our front camera pops up. And I'll show you something else quite practical with this AMG GT as well. Give you some rock ASMR. Bit of a turkey crossing there. So this car has the optional front axle lift, which is something you usually only see in supercars like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and things, but we do have it here in the AMG GT. I am just not in the correct spot to do it. You have to click the car. Yes, raise level. Not the most ideal thing for if you're in a scenario where there's a car behind you, but if you owned this car, you'd memorize where things are a bit better. Don't really need it for that speed bump, but may as well show it off. This also has the GPS savable feature for the front end lift, so if you live at a house with a steep driveway or something, you can set the car to where it will automatically raise the front every time you pull up, so you don't have to worry about fiddling for the front end lift. This will automatically lower down once you hit 25 miles per hour, so we'll do that once we pull out of the parking lot here. There, that front end is automatically lowering. We are still in comfort mode, and this is still, it's a little zesty still in comfort mode, but definitely still manageable. Pretty decent throttle response. It's a little bit touchy. You got to watch yourself. It's very eager to go. Boy, does it make a good noise. That's another big difference from the SL. It's the same engine, same exact horsepower and torque numbers, but this is a lot rowdier. If you thought that SL was rowdy, wait till you hear this thing. Let's go individual mode. And we'll change our own gears here. My favorite part about Mercedes individual drive modes is the amount of things you can toggle. I mean, I can get this to where this will set my gearbox into manual. With the flip of one switch, it sets everything up. You can set your gearbox, all of the stuff. Turn our auto stop start off. That is a separate thing here on the steering wheel. There is a thunderstorm erupting behind us. Oh my goodness, what a noise. You know what? This straightaway is empty. Let's do a race start. So I'm going to twist this knob all the way over to the right. That's going to put us into full race mode. It's going to put the gearbox into automatic. AMG race starts are super simple. Come to a stop, full left foot brake, full right foot on the accelerator, and release brake. And listen to the noise this thing makes as it's preparing the race start. Oh my goodness. You can see that active arrow in the rear goes up like a McLaren P1 under braking. I mean, that's the amount of G's you could pull in this car. All right, back into individual mode. Give me soft suspension. Ooh, that's a bit of a moment there doing a race start. Not only does it, make all sorts of theatrical noises, it tensions the seat belt and holds you in place. It's so funny. I got this car a few days ago for review, of course, and I went out and I filmed my winding road video, and I did a launch control, and I was kind of just expecting the same sort of experience that I had with the SL, and that was, very, very quick, but still manageable. And I went and I did a race start in this, and I was like, that is an entirely different animal. I'm like, that is easily a sub 3 second 0 to 60. And then I read articles of other people that have driven this car, and they're testing it at under 3 seconds, and I'm like, yep, okay, my butt dyno is quite accurate here. What a machine this is. I mean, pretty unbelievable for a GT car. And then you stick it in a comfort mode and it mostly calms down. The actual ride quality in this car is pretty decent. I would say that the damping in comfort mode is just about as soft as I would want it. With this having 21-inch wheels, you do get some crashiness over these bumps. But with this being a bespoke AMG model, I don't really fault it too much. I don't fault them for making it, more towards hardcore than soft, comfortable Grand Touring. But it can do it still. I mean, this is a pretty rough section here. Got some noise there, but it's not terrible. Drive off into the sunset in my AMG GT. The 9-speed fires off gears, but in kind of a different way. You do have a slight pause between when you pull the paddle and when the gear actually fires off. I think there may be a little bit of self-preservation going on here for this 9-speed speed shift, they call it. I just like making that noise. All right, we're gonna leave it in third and just kind of use the torque to pull us out of the corner here. Active arrow coming up, aid us in stopping. That's gotta look so insane from the outside. I've definitely been a bit of a child this week in this car, but that's how you know a car is good, when it makes you feel like a kid. With that, though, comes real-world consequences. This is one of those cars that is so fast, you really have to watch yourself. I mean, you really can't even go through 2 gears without doing things that are not generally allowed in most places. I love that all these years later, AMG, they've shrunk the displacement of this V8 from over 6 liters all the way down to a tiny little 4 liter, just about as small as you can get with a modern V8. And yet they've still kind of kept that soul and that demeanor of AMG's past, the kind of low, grunty, snarly V8. The pops and burbles, it's just ruthless. It's such a cool noise and a cool experience. I mean, how can you not smile while driving this car? I just absolutely love it. Of course, I have a number of different cluster designs. I usually just leave my cars in classic because it's a bit overwhelming to go through and do all these. My second favorite is track pace, though, because it actually takes up the entire screen. It shows you lots of different things. G meter. In the middle, you have your gear, which is quite helpful, which really is the mode you should be in if you are manually shifting. It's just, you give it 40% throttle like that and short shift it, and you're up to the speed limit in 3 seconds. What a machine this is. Sure, it's 200 grand, but this is quite the upgrade over the old AMG GT. The fact that any new car in the year 2024 can make that noise. Okay, let's go back into comfort here and let's just chill out for a second. Put our cluster screen back into classic mode. Love these gauges. What a sunset. What a nice lighting situation for our drive tonight. Love to see it. And you know, this is the time of day and the sort of situation where a car like the AMG GT has to be able to settle down and make sense in a daily driving situation. Jumping on the highway, eating up miles in this car. It's in the name, GT, Grand Touring. Cruise control, pretty simple to operate. It is a 2-button push. We do have adaptive cruise in this car, but other than that, we don't really have anything too fancy. We do have a lane departure warning that is turned off. You can adjust your adaptive cruise distance here with a physical button, or rather a haptic touch control button on the steering wheel. But you don't have to go into a menu and do anything like that. And honestly, with this thing out on the highway, it is pretty dang cozy. When you're on a smooth highway surface like this, the actual, like I said earlier, the damping on the suspension is quite soft when you're in comfort mode. So it is honestly pretty forgiving when you're in a situation like this. Test out this adaptive cruise a bit. And not only that, it's really quiet in here. There's a pretty good amount of sound deadening. The seat itself, most of your adjustments are right here on the door, though you can do some more adjustments in the infotainment, which I don't super like. I feel like Mercedes used to put kind of the lumbar and things physically down on the side of the seat, but now you have to go into the infotainment and do them, which means you have to do the, actually, no. You click the home button and then you click comfort and then you click seat. You are able to save this as a favorite in your drop-down menu, but it really only gets rid of like one of your clicks, so it's really not that big of a deal. It does have massaging seats as well. Let's go ahead and switch our ambient lighting. Let's do Red Moon. That's another good one. Ergonomics in the cabin as far as kind of just relaxing in this AMG GT. We've got a decent amount of cushion here on the driver's door panel. It isn't, you know, as much as I would really like to see. And the story's kind of the same here in the middle, though you do have some more cushion on the center console. So you are able to kind of set yourself up comfortably in this AMG GT. Driving position, you can get super low down, which means, I mean, shoot, I've got that much headroom. I'm 5'11", so I mean, you could be all the way up to 6'6", 6'7" probably, and you would still fit in this car. So room for some of our taller friends. One thing you're not going to be is efficient, though. We can see what I've been doing this week. From reset, I've put 163 miles on this car this week, so I have driven it, and I've done 11.9 mpg. So there were some spirited sections in there. I think if you were to be daily driving this car in a civilized manner, you could probably manage high teens, somewhere 17, 18 mpg, something like that. But you're definitely not buying this car to be efficient into hypermile, unless you are. But I'd tell you that that's probably not a very good choice. This microfiber steering wheel feels really nice in the hands. A lot of the AMG press cars just have the leather steering wheel, so it's nice to drive one that has this Alcantara microfiber suede material on it. Feels pretty nice. This car's got just about 3,500 miles on it, which means a lot of sweaty journalists and YouTubers have touched this car, but it's holding up fine. Interior, all that stuff seems to be okay. It's just a nice experience. This car's got some pretty crazy aura, as the young kids would say. Lots of aura in the AMG GT. I don't know necessarily I'd go with Moonlight White, but you get this car like in black with red interior or some crazy MANUFAKTUR exterior color, and you're set to have nobody come near your car. Let's try and make a bit of a racket under the bridge. You know we have to try it. super quiet window motors. Okay. Mission complete. That's a pass. That might be the most racket we've ever made under those bridges. Quite good. Here, let's see if it'll do an auto stop start. Give you guys a taste of what that's like. We don't have any sort of mild hybrid system in this car. So the starter does engage when the car goes to start back up. It's incredibly serene in here, though. I mean, it's so quiet. All right, well, as we kind of just cruise into city and wrap our drive up on the AMG GT, why don't we do a bit of a sound system test on this base Burmester sound system? As far as I know, pretty much the same sound system that you'd find in the SL, but don't forget the SL is a convertible, so things will be tuned slightly differently. So we'll go ahead and take a listen to this as well. This is in its standard 3D settings. It's not a personal sound profile. Got two ways to adjust volume. Both are haptic touch. One on the steering wheel and then one down by the screen closer to the passenger. One thing Mercedes does really well with these Burmester systems, you know, high end or not, is they make them so you can listen to them at high volumes and they aren't super harsh on the ears. This isn't the most impressive sound system from Mercedes, but you, like I said, you're able to opt for that $4,500 optional sound system. In my opinion, I think it should just come with it if I'm paying $200,000, but it is what it is. Ooh, look at that sunset. It's cloudy all day and the sun just broke through, I think specifically for our AMG GT video. Cool, guys. Well, we'll pull into the structure here and we'll give you some final thoughts. Probably won't make too much of a racket. I think we've kind of done our part. This car might be a little bit too rowdy to do anything in this structure.
Please select an event from the screen menu. Welcome.
Honestly, I think this car completes its mission pretty well. There's not really anything that I would expect it to do differently. It's incredibly raunchy and just absolutely insane when you want it to be at the flick of a switch, but when you put it into comfort mode, it's super dailyable. I love this light steering, the quick, precise nature of this rear axle steering. I mean, I can just so quickly snake my way up this parking structure with no problem whatsoever. And that's the way that a car like this should be. I mean, you should really be able to do both without having to sacrifice much. Having the addition of the front axle lift is nice. I mean, there's a ton of room in the back with this being a lift back. You can have rear seats if you want. It is quite expensive, but we have seen the depreciation of the first gen AMG GTs and GTSs and GTRs. Or the GTRs probably don't depreciate as much, but you can have like a 5 or 6 year old, whenever these first came out, AMG GTS for like 60 or 70 grand. They're getting down there. So it's a cool option. on the new and used market. And you don't really see these cars that often. So, you know, make you stand out a little bit from the rest. Nope, that's not where I wanted to go. I'm clicking a million buttons. I just wanted to switch this to Malibu Sunset. Because it's sunset, it's golden hour. So I've had a great week with this car. I can't really complain. I hate the door handles, but that's kind of a stupid, silly little thing that I say about all Mercedes. There's nothing specific to this AMG GT that doesn't make sense. Sure, it got wider and longer and taller and heavier and all-wheel driver-er. But in some ways, I feel like that makes it more of an AMG GT because it's a Grand Touring car. So it should be a little bit cozy. And trust me, it's still feisty when you need it to be. Oh man, what a lighting situation up here today. I'm quite pleased with that. Very, very pretty. Just like the AMG GT. Make use of our 360 camera. Kind of a tight spot. We can fit right in the middle there. Cool. We'll put this thing into park. Parking brake is electronic, down to the left. And we'll shut it off. Cool. Well, I hope this video is giving you a good idea of what it's like to drive, to daily drive, to live with the newest generation AMG GT. Let's give it one last look here in this golden hour lighting.
Excuse me, please don't forget your phone.
She does that. She's got a number of different prompts so you don't get tired of her saying the same thing. It's the little things that matter. It's such a pretty car. It's 200 grand, but honestly, it looks it. Whew. All right, sweet. Well, that's the new AMG GT. If you guys have any questions about it, go ahead and leave them in the comments. But I've had a great few days driving around in this thing. It's been pretty surreal. So thank you guys all so much for continuing to support the channel, for watching these videos. It makes days like this possible, and I am forever grateful. So that'll wrap it up for us today. Again, thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.